Hello again. One little addition I thought I would share with you is the track listing that I've got now, which is pretty well complete, and I thought actually what I'd do is just go through the tracks and maybe give you a few samples, so rather than just simply talk about what's happening with the album, you can actually hear the style for yourself. So yes, this is a little sort of additional video, and I suppose I should also, the stories themselves have developed within the tracks as well. So with the tracks that I have, the ones that are making more sense, let me just go through them. So this is 10 Campfire Songs, and as far as I have it at the moment, the track listing. So track 1 is I call a pin dropped, and it's a very short track, just a little bit of music and noise, and it's really that moment where a pin literally drops in someone's head and they say, this is all too much, I'm going to get out of here for a while, I need to make a change, or I need to stop listening, I need to, there's too much static, too much noise. So I've tried to kind of show that with this small track. This is the start of it. It's the whole, there's all this noise and I need to get away and get to silence. So that's a pin dropped. Here's a little bit of it. Okay, track 2 so far is All That You Carry, and this again is the sense of not only when you're actually going camping and hiking, this person, this character, it's the fact that they're hiking on their own, they're fine, they've kind of gone out somewhere into the wilderness, and at that point in time everything that they carry with them is their life, and I just kind of wanted that to be all that you carry, so the things that you have are the tools, that's your home, that's your thoughts, that's everything you possess is sort of defined in what you carry on your back. But it's also an extension of that, which is all that you carry. It could be issues and problems that you take from one place to another, and how best to resolve them or deal with them, or maybe ignore them, not even know that they're there. So here's a little sample from that track.
He leaves work late again and heads out for that drink. The bitter taste of absence makes him think. Here we go.
Track 3 is called A Peaceful First Night, The Atheist's Dream. And this was where I really sort of wanted to empty out a track and just have an acoustic guitar as the main theme, the main thing going on. And this is that sense of being in front of a campfire on your own, with your thoughts, and everything's calmed down, and all you can hear are the sounds of nature. In this particular occasion, is that the first night camping, it's just a peaceful one. There's no storms, there's no problem. There's a little bit of rain that you can hear at the beginning of the track pattering down onto the tent. So let's have a little taster of that.
Mountains line the sill, welcomed by lack of sound. Path grows, leads out of sight. Eve glows, follows me home tonight. Fog that wanders gathered in, clung my roots with diamond crown.
Track 4 I'm working on, haven't finished, called Woken Broken, but it has a real sort of traditional theme to it, sort of folky theme to it. So that one's unfinished, but that's what this one. Let's have a listen to this. Track 5 at the moment is And Liberty She Blew. This was been hanging around for a while, and I felt that it fitted with the album, but possibly not. Possibly it's not right for this album. I'm undecided with this one. I'm not going to play that one. The next track I have is an old number I've revamped called Lazy Summer, and that's kind of like a fun track about the sort of young kids' view of summer, almost like a sort of childish play with a sort of overtone to it. Yeah, this is an old track that I just re-recorded from years ago, and I thought it actually fitted in because it was also about sort of reflecting to what you were like when you were a kid. And you know, you see some of those old photographs and it takes you right back there with the sort of dated colour or the fashion that you wore at the time. And a positive one, very much a sort of positive, those were you know, sort of halcyon days type thing. So that's Lazy Summer. We'll have a quick listen to that.
Sitting in the garden with Margaret, sitting and reading a book. The lemonade ball is my target. I hope she didn't lazy summer, breathe deeply. Lazy summer, breathe slowly.
Right, the next one is track 7 called The Bewilder Retreat. This is unfinished, but it's actually to do with my mother's suffering from late stage dementia, and the bewilder is the sort of bewilderment, trying to sort of have conversations with her as she's gone through this dementia process, and trying to understand how she is understanding the world. Really difficult. There have been some interesting conversations that you can see that they make sense to her, but we just can't understand how her brain is working and making sense to her, these things that seem often bizarre to us. And the Bewilder Retreat was about that sort of, you see a person who is retreating away from you into some sort of bewilderment, and it's quite a thoughtful and minor key type track. I haven't written the lyrics for this, but I love the feel of it, but it is very much a sort of heartfelt track. So here's a little snippet of that. Now we have the Jug Train song. That's the next track, and this one again has been kicking around. I used my resonator. Had this theme when I started playing resonator that I just wanted to incorporate somewhere, and that there was an effect that I used, and I also slowed down a track and sped a track up. I was just experimenting with the timing of a track and how you could digitally do that and then play live over the top. So I did that with this track, and it does sound like a train gaining motion. So I've incorporated that idea into it. But actually the lyrics that came out of that are very much sort of day and night time, out in the plains or near a stream. Again, very sort of playful, with the sense of during daylight a stream is clear and crystal, and you see the fish in it and the pebbles below, and it looks very clean. But if you see that same stream at night or under moonlight, it's like a black river. It takes on a completely different feel. So I wanted the sort of playfulness of kids playing in a field or in the woods or around a farm along a stream, but with a sort of overtone. I also wanted a sort of traditional feel to some of the lyrics, the words. Let's have a quick listen to that one anyway. So unguarded, shake your hands, kick your feet, float your shoe on a cool clear stream. Okay, so we then have a track that I call Knock Knock. This is a very personal track to me because it's actually about the death of my sister and conversations that I'd had with her. So it's a very personal song written about us and her specifically. So I won't go into the themes, but the sort of knock knock idea is to do with sort of Ouija boards and the idea that the sort of you're sold this idea that there are people on another side somewhere that can communicate to your side. And Houdini, there was a famous pact that Houdini said that if he died, there was a code that he would try to break through using a seance to his wife to prove that there was another side, and there was some dodgy dealings going on in the background. And I don't think we're ever really sure whether his wife was in on it or was duped by someone else, but that kind of played out and plays out into this song. My sister was very much a believer in that you go somewhere else. And I'm not, and we'd had plenty of those conversations. And so the song is about that, me saying, if you're there, make it known, while hoping that she is, but in my own self believing that she's not. And it's also about that sort of idea that you have to let go, and not move your belief onto something like that to make you feel better, that someone's always there. I think being able to accept how the world is finite and your life is finite is a thing that a lot of people struggle with. So this is a very personal song about my sister and her dying a couple of years ago, almost now. Have a listen, see what you think.
Your humour left the bone, it bent us out of shape, lying underneath the window. Birds sing to you. So I'm wondering if you made it to that place you thought you'd be. Did you get there? And if you got there, could you tell me, like Houdini did, when you get there? I walked the railway line and headed for the coast, throwing stones at mudlarks, struggling, laughing.
The next track is called The Peaceful Second Night, and it is related to the first Peaceful Night. So I wanted to sort of revisit that, sitting in the tent or of an evening by a fire. But this time the guy has a radio which he's trying to tune in on the top of a mountain or under in some woods, and he can't get a good signal. And I like the idea of that Pink Floyd used it, and a number of other bands have used it, where you've got like a radio frequency EQ, so that you're hearing something on the radio, and then it jumps out, wish you were here type, into the real world. Well, I've kind of got the real world type song, which again is simple with acoustic guitar, and then the sort of playing around with the radio. There are some sort of folky singers that suddenly tie in with the music that's playing properly, but in a radio voice, to carry the music on, so it sort of almost breaks into another song. So that was kind of where I was with it. Again, it was a very sort of contemplative and calm song. So we'll have a little snippet of that.
Projecting on those mountains, my carousel of scenes for those who live below. One fine day, a pebbled Welsh beach lay jagged high beneath an open sky, and they might say, is that in Wales where we stayed last year with Humpty Vine? But some would shake their heads and say, mountains aren't there to reflect where you have strayed.
The next song, or rather actually it's not even a song, I think I'm not going to have it as a song, I'm just going to have it as a piece of music. It's called And Then the Fire Went Out. And again, I'm using my own feet walking through the woods, sometimes in rhythm with the track and sometimes not, as a start. The idea was that this sort of journey that this person has been on, almost that you imagine that when the fire goes out, that's that point that when you watch a fire go down into embers and finally goes out, that's like the end of something. It's the end of its sustenance, its energy, and I wanted when the fire went out to be almost like that's the end of the journey, and then it ends with footsteps walking away from where the fire was. So going back to your old life, possibly renewed, reinvigorated. Maybe you've learned something, but it's just a piece of music, and I love I love the style of it, and I really could have done many other things with it, but in the end I've just left it pure and simple, with both a very closely recorded acoustic guitar and then mirrored that with a sampled string sound. Here's a little snippet anyway. So the next track is called Red Light, Blue Light, and I keep on having this sort of sense of that there's a little bit of sort of with the lyrics that I have at the moment, almost sort of drunkenness or confusion to do with lighting, and maybe it's at Christmas. I'm not sure. This is an unfinished track. I'm not going to play that one because it may be that won't go onto the album. The next one is Long Journeys in Small Cars. The idea of this one is probably that is the last track that the hiker finds his way down off the hills, the mountains, and down onto a mountain road, and it's picked up by someone in a car who's driving a car on that road, and they offer to give him a lift. And I want to have some sort of short dialogue, but I also want the radio to be on and it to play a news item, because that's relevant for the end of the track and actually this person. And all I have as the music is quite up. It has quite a really nice sort of ending sequence. The whole track is like an end. So just a little bit of that, music only, again, don't have the lyrics. Have a listen to that. So, there are a number of other tracks here that could go in, and I don't know where, because I want long Journeys in Small Cars to be the end. But I've also written a cover of Deep Blue Sea, which is a traditional song covered by many people, but all with different lyrics. There are some traditional lyrics which have been sort of added to over the years, and I collected a whole load of them, the ones that to me made sense, and strung together a longer song. But I based the melody and the style of it on a version which was released by Grizzly Bears, and it's a lovely version. Actually, the original version was a demo from one of the guys in the band, yeah, it was a Daniels song, and I mean he's such a good guitarist, such an original guitarist. He does some lovely chords, lovely style, but he did a fantastic version of Deep Blue Sea, which I'd like to release my own version, sort of based around his chords, his style of this traditional song. And it's about a fella who goes on the sea, and he goes whaling on a whaling boat, and he drowns, and it's a sort of lament to the fact that he will never go home again and see his home. So there's the sort of the spirit, the ghost of him. There are versions of it all over the place where it's not him, it will be a woman or a mother or wife singing for their lost son or husband or brother, and so it's got a rich history. I don't know where it originally came from, whether it is England, Britain, UK based, or it's what would have been the New World, if it's America, Canada. So I don't know, but it has that old sort of flavour of possibly being maybe English. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's a song that has been covered by other groups, and I know that Grizzly Bear actually pointed to a particular group in the States, I believe in the 50s, that did a cover, like a sort of singing guitar playing troupe, did a version of it, very sort of, you know, folky American country folk type thing. But I wanted to do a version that was much more akin to Grizzly Bear. I'm not going to play that one because of my concern of copyright. But I will either release that as a track way out of the range of the whole album, or I'll release it as just a single, separate from 10 Campfire Songs. So there you go. That's just a roundup, just so that you get, for those who are interested, a sense of what the album's about, rather than me just talking about it and showing album covers up in the corner, hopefully that gives you a little bit more of a flavour of what this is going to be about. But anyway, when it's released, I'll obviously do another video, and it'll be freely available if anyone wants to listen to the whole thing. Anyway, that's me, and we'll talk to you soon.